Hey everyone, hope you've had a great start to your week. I just wanted to talk tonight about a name that God has given in the Bible, and that's the name Jehovah Jireh. It's used only one time, but it's in the story of Abraham, when Abraham has been promised a son, and Isaac arrives, and he's the son of the promise. He's the one that the nation that God promised to Abraham is going to come through. And then chapter 22 of Genesis, God comes to Abraham and he asks Abraham to sacrifice his son. And that must have been such a heart-wrenching moment for Abraham in the decision of this was God's provision, this was God's promise, and I love my son, but this is what God has asked me to do. And this was the choice that Abraham had to make. But Abraham decided to obey God, and he took Isaac and he took him up to the mountain, and he built an altar and he lay Isaac on it, and he was just about to kill Isaac as a sacrifice when God stopped him, said, I can see where your heart is. I can see your heart of obedience and faithfulness to me. Don't kill your son. Then Abraham looked up, reading from verse 13. It says, Abraham glanced up and saw a ram behind him with its horns caught in a thicket. He went over, dislodged the ram, and offered it up as a burnt offering in the place of his son. From that day forward, Abraham called that place Jehovah Jireh, the Eternal One will provide. Because of this, people still today say, on the Mount of the Eternal, all will be provided. And that's what Jehovah Jireh means, the Lord will provide. Or even the Lord will see my need and he will provide for it. And it's such an amazing thing to think that God cares so much for us. It's not just okay, I'll provide for you. He cares so much that he sees what we need, sometimes even before we see it, and he provides for us. But I don't believe this is just a material thing. God cares about our needs, our physical needs, and he provides for that. He says that he provides for it. Jesus in teaching said, don't worry about what you will eat or what you will wear, because God sees these things and he provides for them. But God provides, it says on the Mount of the Eternal, all will be provided. Everything that we need is provided. The first thing that God provided for us was a Saviour. He saw our need for a Saviour and for redemption, and he provided that for us. And that's the picture that we have here in Genesis. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son, and God provided a replacement for that. Our place was death, but God provided Jesus as a lamb, figuratively speaking, as a lamb to be sacrificed in place of us as a saviour. But there's other things that we find in Jesus as provision for us. In James it talks about, does anyone need wisdom? Let him ask God for it, and he gives generously. James also says that every good thing comes from God. In Philippians, Paul says that we should come to God with thanksgiving and prayer and ask for what we need, and the peace of God comes and guards our hearts and our minds. So whatever it is that you feel yourself lacking, do you feel the need to feel loved as a child of God? Just go to him and ask him to come and meet with you. Do you need peace? Go and ask for it. James also says in chapter 4 that we don't have because we don't ask. And God does see our need before we know. But sometimes we need to go and we need to position ourselves before God, like Hannah did. In 1 Samuel, she had a deep need. Her heart was breaking because she didn't have a child. And it says in chapter 1 of 1 Samuel that she went and she positioned herself before God and cried out to God and told him of her pain and her heartache. And God heard that. And he came and he met and he provided comfort for Hannah and peace. And he did, as time moved on, did give her children and provided the comfort and the joy that her heart needed. And whatever it is, and also, as I mentioned before, our physical needs. Do we need work? Do we need a place to live? Do we need, even as simple as, do we need food for this week? God sees that, and He cares so much for you. He cares what happens to you. He cares what happens with your family. He knows your need for each other. He knows your need for dependence on Him. So I just encourage you this week. There's a really great song that's out at the moment by Maverick City called Jireh. And I encourage you to look that up because they speak these words that say, Jireh, you are enough. And it's just recognizing that everything that we need is found in Jesus. And because He is enough, we are enough. Nothing is dependent on ourselves, but when we find our identity in Him and who He is, and in the provision, the overflow of abundance that is in Him, everything that we are and everything that we need is enough when we find ourselves in Him. So I'd encourage you to have a listen to that song. If you're struggling, find yourself in the presence of God. Position yourself. Pour out your heart to God. I know I've said it a few times, but He cares. He cares for you. I think it's in 1 Peter, one of the Peters. He says, I cast all your burdens on the Lord. He cares for you. So just want to leave you with that. Be loved. Live loved because He does. He does love you. Walk out in confidence that God sees your need and provides for it, and He is everything that you need. Have a great week. We'll see you Sunday.